One of the first things I do in preparing my people for a pilgrimage is directing them to a particular mental focus or mind frame. In Tibet, the Tibetans have the idea that your motivation or your attitude, your inner mental posture is instrumental to your experience. So before going even the first step of pilgrimage, I work fairly hard at trying to get the people's inner focus, inner posture well set and well established. Once in Tibet, we're always, of course, provided with an official guide. The first thing I do with him or her is tell them, don't talk too much. There is a tendency with the official pilgrimage guides that they just walk you into a chapel, list the names of whatever images are there, walk you into another one, list another 100 names. For pilgrimage, one does want to learn a little bit about each place and about the main images in each place, but one doesn't want to do it purely in an intellectual or conceptual way, as though somehow a longer shopping list is going to give someone a deeper experience. So in this particular pilgrimage, in the beginning with our guide, I told them the secret to our success is giving everyone enough space that they can do their personal exploration, both of the physical site as well as their inner mental, emotional response to it, while at the same time keeping people cohesive enough to have the sense of group pilgrimage. I think life is a very mysterious or multifaceted process. Where we come from, where we're going. Ordinary people don't have much of a sense of that. In fact, in Buddhism we say only a fully enlightened master sees the full depth and range of the unfolding of things. As for myself, as a young man, I grew up in French Canada, and for us, our real educational drive was towards the sciences, medicine, engineering, those kinds of fields, business. But as a young man, I happened upon Asian literature. I started reading things from the Upanishads to the great Sufi classics, the Tao Te Ching. But when I read the great Tibetan classics translated by Evans Wentz and Lama Kazi Dawasanda, I knew I had found my home from a spiritual point of view. And from then on, whatever I could find out about Tibet, whatever I could learn about Tibet, I made every effort to do so. Some years later, I heard that the Tibetans had opened an institute for Western people in India in one of the refugee communities. And so I made my way there thinking to study for 3 years. But after 3 years I didn't know much at all, so it became another 3. Still didn't know much, so it became another 3. Still didn't know much, so it became another 3. And in the end I ended up spending 12 years in studying with the Tibetan masters in India. At the end of that time I didn't really know everything, but anyway, by that time I had 5 or 6 books published. My publishers were pressing me to do some lecture touring. Otherwise I'd still be sitting in the mountains of Himalayas in India studying and meditating. I do try to go back, over the next decade I tried to go back for 6 months out of every year to continue my training. And from the early 90s, with the opening of Tibet, started to go to Tibet every year and developed a real love for pilgrimage, visiting the places of pilgrimage, the power places where great masters of the past walked and breathed, where they meditated and where they achieved enlightenment. And for me, it's all personal. I pick my groups very carefully. I turn down almost as many people as I allow on the pilgrimages. And leading pilgrimages is as much a part of the process as doing pilgrimage. I suppose when I've done them by myself, there is a freedom to meditate more in various places. But in ancient times, the Buddhist masters always went on pilgrimage with rather large entourages. So although I don't rank myself with them in the sense of status, nonetheless I very much enjoy emulating that style. For instance, the pilgrimage we're on now to the sacred places of the second Dalai Lama. If we read his biography, we notice that every time he went on pilgrimage, it was always with 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 people. He was a pilgrimage master, and certainly he would have had more private time if he would have gone by himself with just one or two friends or attendants. But there's a certain inspiration, if you will, in being part of a larger group. That it's almost as though synergistically the sum of the energies is much less than the totality of what you get from 10 or 15 or 20 people all together in one place, in one sacred place, meditating together, walking, doing the kora, the walk-arounds together, and just in general, the exploring those recesses of the mind that arise from such power, such amazing, magical energy places. I mean, Khenpo is a human being like any other human being. Of course, being a monk is a blessing. He's also a very great spiritual person, spiritual master. We share many of the same gurus, so for me, that was an unexpected asset to the Torah. For me, it was a sort of a little bit like having a spiritual assistant on the Torah. It certainly made my job a lot easier. He was very willing always to help lead meditation sessions, help solve people's personal problems if they arose, with his wisdom and his many other talents. For me, I guess as much as anything, just the joy of seeing him explode with delight in every place we went was the great reward of bringing him, because all Buddhists of Central Asia hope to go to the places we visited. And very often, financial considerations, political considerations, other obstacles of that nature arise, and they don't get to go. In his case, as he said, for 20 years he's been just praying and wishing and hoping against hope to undertake such a pilgrimage. So for me to be able to help facilitate that was very, very wonderful. And I think every single person on the tour benefited immensely from seeing the traditional response to the power places. To having someone there who really embodied the ancient tradition of pilgrimage. I myself, from my side, always try to get people focused into the traditional mode: devotion, respect, expectation. But to have a well-trained monk with us, certainly I think every single person benefited immensely.